Hello and welcome. My name is Melinda Hart. You are watching Stamping with Hart. I am an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up, and today is the last day of Saleabration 2024. So I thought I would end Saleabration by showcasing the Flight and Airy Designer Series paper pack, which you can earn as a free Saleabration reward. And most of you probably already have. But if you haven't made your last minute purchases for Saleabration rewards, you still have time today on February 29th, 2024. So you're looking at card layouts here that lend themselves to using your designer series paper. So if you are looking for ideas to use designer series paper and showcase different patterns, use it for layers, use it as an embellishment, use it along with your greetings, then you will really enjoy today's video. Now, we are starting here with a pecan pie or pecan pie, just depending on how you say it, card base. I'm cutting it at 1.5 inches. I'm going to cut it again at 2.5 inches. And we are going to create a simple fun fold card from this cut. So the original card base is 4.25 by 11. You can get 2 card bases out of one sheet of 8.5 by 11 cardstock. And this single card, which if you already have top fold cards cut, you could just very easily convert it to a fun fold, and we are going to create our fun fold and have some fun with the Flight and Airy Designer Series paper. So one thing that I was going for here in today's video in terms of giving you ideas of how to use this beautiful designer series paper pack. And of course, I think it goes without saying, of course, you can substitute whatever designer series paper pack you want. I'll be showcasing this one, but don't feel like it has to be restricted to this specific pack. You can, get whatever designer series papers out that you have and work with these. So now we're cutting the designer series paper panels. There are different versions of birds on all of these papers. So bird on a branch isn't probably the best description, but what I will say for this particular piece, we're cutting it at 1.25 inches by 4. We need 2 of these. The fresh freesia piece that I just cut is cut at 2.25 inches by 4. And these are what we're going to decorate our card front with. Now, I do have a free project sheet. So let me just say that in the beginning of this video. I probably should have said it before 3 minutes in. But I do have a free project sheet that you can download to get all of the measurements and instructions and photos for today's cards. Many of you probably picked up this designer series paper, and if you're looking for ideas to use, then I think you will really enjoy the free project sheet. But I'll also try to give you as many measurements as I can here as well. So here for this fun fold, we are also going to be doing a little bit of die cutting. So we'll be doing a little bit of die cutting with a couple of different bundles. We're going to do some fussy cutting too. So we're going to fussy cut 2 of these birds out. So the pattern that I just cut at 1.25 is very chock full of smaller birds on branches, smaller birds on branch scenes. This particular piece of paper where I'm fussy cutting the birds, this is the piece of paper that has the largest scale birds on it. The idea behind this fun fold, and specifically why I use this fun fold, is because I wanted to create the look of a nest. Right? One of the things that we know happen in spring, one of the things that reminds me the most of spring is when those little eggs start to hatch and we start to hear those baby birds and we start to see the mama birds bringing them food or, teaching them how to fly. And so I thought it would be really fun to take these larger scale birds and make them look like they just hatched. And so this particular fun fold layout, to me, lended itself to almost the look of a nest, right? Where we're going to put them inside this rectangle that's going to be in the center of the card. And I just thought that that was really cute and really fun. So So what I'm doing here is the placement of our glue is what's going to be most important here. I'm going to adhere the designer series paper panel to the center piece first. Then I'm only putting glue on each edge. I'm lining up that bonus, that, spare piece of the 1 and 1.5 inch on that edge to line up with the end of the card. And then of course we have our fun fold on the other side. That's going to be the part that helps to open and close the card. And so that way no glue is going in the center of that rectangle so that your fun fold will work. Now, one thing that I did that might be a little bit different than what you're used to seeing is I'm layering the designer series paper over the rectangle panel edges. And the reason that I did that was purely from a design standpoint because I didn't want to cover up the birds on this pattern paper. And I didn't feel like I was losing anything by covering up some of the fresh freesia pattern. Now, this is our insert that we're putting on the inside of the card. This is a 4 by 5.25 inch piece, basic white cardstock. This is actually where we're going to stamp our greeting, so it will appear like it's on the front of the card, but it's actually on the inside of the card. That'll be coming up, I think, in just a moment. I can't remember which thing I did first. Now, the egg that I ended up die cutting and putting on here, I originally was going to use on a paper pumpkin project, and I changed my mind. One of the paper pumpkin envelopes was in Very Vanilla, and I grabbed a piece of Very Vanilla cardstock and I cut both just to see if it looked the same, and it does. But that's why these eggs are Very Vanilla, because an eggshell to me actually looks a little bit closer to Very Vanilla. And then also I already had these pieces cut and on hand, which is why I ended up accidentally not filming it. I meant to film myself creating the egg, but you guys get the idea. If you do want to see it, leave a comment and I'll put it in another video, or I could do a quick video about it. But you just use that chevron die on the egg die cut and place it wherever you want, and it's going to look like a half of an egg, which I'm going to have a lot of fun with this leading up to Easter. But we just popped each bird on a dimensional. We just popped each eggshell on a dimensional. Put your dimensional towards the bottom of the eggshell so you have room. And you don't even have to be fancy fussy cutting the bottoms of your birds because they'll be covered by the egg if you choose this layout. We're using fresh freesia ink here to stamp our greeting, Hello Spring, from the Excellent Eggs stamp set. And one thing I wanted to shout out about this designer series paper, these larger scale birds where they're only like a partial image, that would still work for this card layout. So don't throw those little pieces away because, you only need half of the bird and then you can cover the rest of it with the eggshell. So just with careful creative placement, you can use just about every bird image that is on that piece of designer series paper if you are somebody who really likes to maximize what you get out of your designer series paper packs. Okay, I'm also showing the seasonal branches bundle, which is another bundle I am going to be using with today's card projects. This is just to show you that there's versatility with this paper. You can use bundles that you have on hand. I ended up using 3 different bundles and I liked all of them. I also used Thoughtful Expressions, but really I stuck to the dies. I didn't use stamps from Thoughtful Expressions, but you could use it. It would very easily go, I believe, with this paper pack and theme easily. Now this is Lemon Lolly cardstock here. I'm cutting this down. So what I'm going to do here is actually cut this piece to 5.5 by 7.5 inches because we're going to create a back fold with this card. So we are going to score at 3.25. We're also going to score at 6.5 inches, and it will end up being, our standard card size. It'll fit in a medium envelope. It is a little bit strange to cut off that little extra inch of cardstock if you're not used to making this, but this is absolutely one of the easiest and most, I think, most fun folds to make. It's just so simple. Now I'm taking the back of the large scale bird paper. I love this pattern on the opposite side as well. And I'm going to cut this down to 3 by 5.25 inches for the front card panel. And for the side panel, we're going to cut this to 7/8 of an inch by 5¼ inches. And this is what I'll just refer to as the Lost Lagoon pattern, this green sort of leafy pattern. I thought that that would make a really nice accent color to play off of the lemon lolly. And then, of course, this pink floral pattern that we have going on that does not have birds on the other side of this one piece of paper with the big birds. So, you know, you can really play around and create different themes with this paper. Don't feel like it has to be birds if you're not a bird person. You could also focus on the solids or the more solid color patterns or the florals, and just pair it with one of your favorite bundles and you can turn it into something else. So I will be using the Thoughtful Expressions dies. They are like nesting dies. They have the layers, which are perfect. So I took a piece of this designer series paper. I wanted the bird on the branch, smaller scale, so that I could use that as like a focal piece, almost like as an embellishment. I'm cutting it out with my Stamp and Cut and Emboss machine. I'm using the full-size machine, but for the size dies that I was using in today's video, you could also use your mini. This is boho blue cardstock. I'm going to bring in boho blue as the layer. So this card, I really did play with the colors where we have the Lost Lagoon and the boho blue, and we have lemon lolly, and we have these really pastel like pinks and a little bit of pecan pie and a little bit of the calypso coral and the flowers. So it was really pretty. I felt like it turned out like just really floral, spring, pretty. And this is what's going to become the mechanism on our fun fold. And I didn't want to do like a separate die for the greeting. So Seasonal Branches has these really small scale greetings. So I chose thanks and I just stamped it in in pecan pie ink right next to our bird. And I felt like it fit right in and it almost looks like it's part of the paper, which I thought was really cool. So we're just gluing our panels down here. You're going to do also a 3 by 5¼ inch basic white insert for your card. And then we're going to turn this die cut into our mechanism for the back fold. So we'll be specific with where we place our adhesive again. And of course, that's totally fine. I'm going to have the video here in real time so that you can see me do this. I'm just going to flip it over because I want to keep the glue only to the side that is going to be on the back fold panel. So on that thinner, that 1-inch panel that's going to fold back. We only want the glue on that side so that when we fold that back, this die opens up the rest of the card. So it kind of locks it into place. And then when you open it, you have this really great, simple, fun fold, but so, so pretty. I love this combination. Typically, excuse me, typically I will do like lemon lolly as the coordinating color for the die on the front too, but I just decided to play with the color and I was really happy with it. Okay, and so here we are 13 minutes in and I'm finally showing you all the patterns. So if you are interested in the Flight and Airy Designer Series paper, you would want to get it by today, February 29th, 2024. And for those of you who find this video the day after that or the next day, I apologize. I couldn't get this video up faster. Too many things have been happening in our personal lives, big schedule changes, routine changes. But isn't this paper just so beautiful? So this is a Saleabration reward paper. This is not paper that can be purchased. This is something that you earn as a free reward when you purchase 50 or more in product during Saleabration, which ends on February 29th, 2024 at the end of the day Mountain Time. So just something to keep in mind if you are doing that last minute shopping or if you already have this pack of paper or something similar. Stampin' Up! Does very similar things with their patterns where they sort of do either solids or semi-solids on one side, really bold patterns on another side. Sometimes they're large scale, sometimes they're small scale, sometimes they're a combination of. So I feel like whatever designer series paper you go with, it's going to be beautiful and it will work with all 4 card layouts that I have in the free project sheet that you can download. Free project sheet in the description box below. You'll also be able to find the link for it on my blog or you can email me. My email is stampingwithhart@gmail.com. And here, while we're working with boho blue, I'm going to make a couple of card bases. So I'm going to score this at 5.5 inches. This is an 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock. I'm going to cut it in half at the 4.25 inch, and that will give us 2 top fold card bases. And this is going to be the fold for our next 2 cards, which is one of the simplest folds. But if you want to do it in the other direction, you could do that as well, meaning the card opens from the side instead of the front. It's just a slightly different cut, but still an A2 size card. I really love working with coordinating colors when I'm working with designer series paper. And so I'm going to show you a little bit of variety here. I didn't get to finish all of these cards, but when I was working on my original concept where we were going to use up an entire pack of paper, I was cutting this in bulk. So let me go ahead and give you those measurements, and I'll go over some of the colors here that we're using. So this particular piece of designer series paper, we're going to use both sides of it. So even though I'm cutting this at I'm cutting this at 4 inches. So lengthwise, because of the direction of the pattern, because the birds are in a specific direction and we want them to be upright, I cut it at 4 inches first, which means you could get 3 rows out of a 12 by 12 piece of paper at the 4-inch size. Now we're going to trim it down to 2 1/8 of an inch, and we're going to cut that all the way down. So if you think about cutting, an entire piece of 12 by 12 paper, because you're going to make a whole bunch of this particular card that we're using, this is a very classic designer series paper showcase layer card. I like this layout. I use this layout a lot. So when you start trimming these down, sometimes you get a really good image of the birds, and sometimes you kind of get like that middle piece and it doesn't really show the birds that much. So we're going to use the pecan pie pattern side in that instance. So I'm just cutting these pieces down. And so I believe you can get 5 at 2 1/8 by 4. And then that last piece is not quite as big, but you could just set it aside and you could use it as a layer on another card. You can, really maximize and use as much of your designer series paper as possible. So if you're going to cut a full sheet, you can get 3 rows of 4-inch panels. You can get 5 panels per 4-inch cut. So I think that's like 15 pieces at that particular size, and then just save the little leftover pieces that you have. And you can correct me on this if I'm wrong on that count, but I think that's pretty much like where we were, like where it was. And so that's the concept behind this card layout. And then we're going to use a different piece of designer series paper, one of the more solid colors, for our center strip. And the center strip is cut at 1 inch by 4 inches. I cut both the boho blue and the fresh freesia pattern from this designer series paper, but I also cut several pieces of lemon lolly cardstock, also at 1 by 4. So here you can see that's the boho blue designer series paper panel. And let's talk a little bit about all of the different color card bases that I'm using. So here I have a combination of fresh freesia, which is the card panels that we're working on right now, as the card base. And then we're just doing, it's all from this one sheet of designer series paper using both sides of it. And then that blue piece is from a separate designer series paper piece. We're also working with boho blue card bases. We're working with bubble bath card bases. I cut 2 in Calypso Coral. And I also cut Lemon Lolly, but I think I used those for different fun folds. I don't remember if I did them in this particular layout. But the whole idea was that we were going to use this whole sort of pastel, springy palette and really, really have these full blown, like basically you would feel like it was spring when you were holding the card. That was like what I was going for there. I'm just using my multi-purpose liquid glue to secure all of these. It's like one of the most cost-effective ways. also to make cards. And if you're somebody who likes flat cards where you don't like a lot of bulk on your cards, or you don't like the extra postage depending on the embellishment and things like that, then you could be really, really um, specific is the word that I'm looking for. You can be very, very specific with how you decorate it. Here's where I'm bringing in that lemon lolly panel. I just felt like it was a nice, bright option. It's soft. It's a softer yellow, but I still felt like it really brightened up the card. I really loved it with the combination of blue and brown. So you can decide your color combos and how you want to do that. I was trying to use as much designer series paper as possible. And so you could get a lot of cards. You could get a lot of cards out of one pack of designer series paper. And this designer series paper is free. It's free with a $50 purchase during Saleabration. But like I said, if you are somebody who keeps packs of paper and you're really like, I really should use up this paper pack, I love this paper pack, but what can I do with it? Then just work with simple layouts like this, really showcase your paper, and I think that you'll really enjoy it. These are the Calypso Coral card bases, by the way. So yeah, we did have a nice variety here, and I'll show you what the final card looks like and how we're going to decorate these. And real quickly, I did want to show you one other cut that I'm going to make that's going to be for a separate card later. This is that traditional 4x5¼ inch panel on a card front, where basically this entire panel is going to be our overall, you know, kind of showstopper for our card front. And you can get 6 of these and then save your extra pieces per 12x12 sheet. And we'll be putting those on our other top fold card bases in just a minute. And just to kind of give you an idea of the way that it, you know, it cut in its panels, you can see this is what a lot of times people will do, like a template. I've actually drawn it before. This is something that I've worked with many times, but I wanted to shout it out here real quick. We're going to come back to that card in a minute, but now we're going to focus on the Seasonal Branches bundle and the Thoughtful Expressions dies. This is the second size. Now, these 2 branches that I'm showing from Seasonal Branches, there's one really long branch die and then one really short one. These are the Thoughtful Expressions dies, and this is the one that I'm using in the second size for the card. You could use whatever combination of sizes that you want. We're also going to be using the die cut bird and the coordinating stamp from Seasonal Branches so that we can sort of echo the look or reinforce the look of the card. I would first of all say that that's optional. Don't feel like you need to add a, you know, stamped and colored bird, but I'm going to. So the other thing that I wanted to show you is the difference in the color between pecan pie and copper clay cardstock. I actually use Seasonal Branches in one of my In Color Club classes, and I'm so happy that I could revisit it to work with the Flight and Airy paper today. And even on the samples in the Saleabration brochure, you can see Seasonal Branches, which I was really happy to see that they did use there. So that's going to be really, really fun. Okay, so I am taking this garden green ribbon. This is from a sheer ribbon combo pack of real red and garden green. And I had some left over, I think, from the holiday. You can still get it. And I'm just kind of creating those little banner edges, just cutting those in. And then we're going to decorate this. I used the Thinking of You stamp from the Excellent Eggs stamp set. I'm going to use just a little bit of Stampin' Seal Plus to secure my ribbon because I know my die cut's going to end up going over it anyway. I would say cut your ribbon to 4¼ inches. Just give yourself a little extra room to kind of cut off those little banner edges there, but give yourself enough length to work with it. I cut one that was too short to begin with. And then here, I'm going to be stamping my bird onto the coordinating die cut. I'm using pecan pie ink, which is not like officially safe. You know, I would recommend Memento Tuxedo Black ink, which is safe to use with alcohol markers. But because this is such a small stamp and it was really basic coloring, I figured it really wouldn't hurt if it wasn't in that color. I just left it in pecan pie because I had it on my table. So I'm going to be using some Stampin' Blends to color my bird. We're going to be using boho blue. I'm just just using mostly light, but I did come in with just a touch of dark there at the end. We're going to use Sweet Sorbet for the belly, the light color, but I'm going to soften it and make it look a little bit more orangey with, my oranges aren't in great shape. So I'm using Ivory and Bronze, and I'm going to use Ivory to lighten up his belly, Bronze for the bird's head. And then in the designer series paper, I'm kind of copying the coloring from the designer series paper bird. The beak and the eye is black. So I am going to bring in my Stampin' Write marker in black and just strengthen up his beak and his eye in black. And if you guys like color or blend too much, which is what I ended up doing with his belly, I was just using so much, it started to bleed a little bit, just trim off the edge. It's not a big deal. And then we're going to, you know, prop this little bird up on a branch. So don't feel like you have to color, but if you enjoy coloring, I think you could have a lot of fun with this. You could do multiple birds, you could do multiple length branches. We're keeping these cards really more about the designer series paper. You know, we're trying to decorate them and make them look great, but not like overdone. So I really just went with one small pecan pie branch from Seasonal Branches and one bird. And you don't, like I said, you could just use a branch as an accent and be done with it. But I thought that adding the bird was fun. So I'm just adding just a little bit of adhesive to his feet. And I ended up liking it better with the branch over the bird's feet instead of the bird's feet perched over the branch. And that was just because of all of the white around the feet on the die cut. I didn't feel like cutting it. So I was like, I'm just going to pop the branch over it. Like you can't really tell, right? Like it's pretty mild. And then I just trimmed off the little edge of that branch. And we're going to finish up with our tinsel gems in green. There's a light green and a dark green. I'm going to go with the darker green, which I feel is closer. It's probably shaded spruce-ish, but it looks really close to garden green. It might be that color. I'm not sure. And then here, going into our final card design, which is the simplest, and I would say probably one of the most common layouts. These are the Thoughtful Expressions dies that I cannot stop using. I am so obsessed with them. But what I'm doing here is I'm trying to show you guys the difference in framing and sizing if you plan to use your designer series paper as an embellishment. Basically, like if you were to get a kit and the die cuts were already cut and the images were perfect and they were already pre-cut for you, we're basically going to recreate that with our own designer series paper here. So what I'm trying to do is get a feel for the sizing, and you can actually size down pretty well with these dies, but sometimes you want a little bit more white space around it so that you can stamp your greeting or your sentiment right next to the bird or right onto that DSP if you don't want to add an extra die cut. Now, I did do that once with one card, but with this card, I am actually going to add an extra die cut for my greeting. But here, I just want to show you the idea behind that. So set your dies down, run them across your paper, get your sizing, get a feel for it. You're not going to get every image perfect, but you could always fussy cut the other ones if you get too close. But this is a great way to sort of visualize what the decorations on your card are going to look like. And I really like that it's kind of like a mirror effect where we have this really detailed and beautiful background paper. And then in the foreground with our decorative element, it's just going to be a very similar image. It ties right in. It almost looks like it's continuous. Kind of like triple time stamping, but with designer series paper. It's not exactly the same, but it's that concept of the same pattern on pattern, just in a different way. So I'm cutting the layering piece in Lemon Lolly. It was a very close cut. I cut it really close because I want to try to preserve as many of those pieces to use as possible, because I do plan on making an entire batch of cards with this paper. Once Saleabration is over, it's over. I want to get these cards out and mailed so that other people can enjoy these cards as well. I don't want to hang on to this paper. There are many, many papers that I do sort of hoard and hang on to, but with this one, just with the time of year and everything, I mean, it's perfect timing, and I would really like to get these out. So the Love of Spring dies, I had already pre-cut a bunch of pieces, and so I had one sitting right on my desk, and I thought, it's the same perforation. It's like that same pattern of what Thoughtful Expressions had. It's a different, different shape, but look at how cool it looks together, almost like a continuous panel. So I stamped Get Well Wishes from Seasonal Branches and Pecan Pie ink. I stamped it on the right side of the Love of Spring's die cut, and now I'm going to glue the left side to the back of the thing that we just made. I'm bringing that garden green ink, not ink, listen to me, that garden green ribbon, bringing it back in to create a small bow. You guys can use your ribbon however you think best. I did do a knotted bow here, and I thought it looked so like sort of feminine and floral and colorful. So I really like the combination together, but you could do this, you know, if you don't want it to be that bulky, you could certainly tie it a different way, or maybe just do like a very simple knot, and however you want to do it. But I did like the addition of ribbon to this particular card. I am going to adhere this ribbon with an adhesive dot from one of my paper pumpkin kits, or you could use a mini glue dot. You could use Stamp & Seal Plus. I would just use something with a, you know, good adhesive on it, something that's going to stay. I just glued the die cut panel flat to the card, and I'm actually going to finish it with the tinsel gems. I thought that it would look really pretty with the tinsel gems. I'm going to use the pink shade. I don't have the color list right in front of me of what the shades are, but it was really nice. Just added a nice little pop of sparkle. And then I totally forgot that I did not add embellishments to my first fun fold. So I came back in with the iridescent pearls, and I just add some pearls around the birds. I think I ended up using 5 or 6 pearls per card, or 4 to 6 pearls ish. You could use which, you know, whatever one you like, but I thought that that one looked a little bit more on the elegant side. So I just did that pop with the iridescent pearls. And that's pretty much it for our 4 card ideas. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments which was your favorite card. Do you have the Flight and Airy paper? And if you do need to get those Saleabration orders in, make sure you do it by the end of the day. Today, February 29th, 2024, leap year, just bringing back these cards so you can take one more look at these. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you like seeing fun full cards like this, and get in the description box if you want to get that free project sheet. And I will see you guys in the next video. And my heartfelt thanks for hanging in there with me while I had to sort of step away during Saleabration. All right, you guys have a wonderful day. I'll see you in the next video.